A very good morning, all my dear students. I welcome you all for today's session on Companies Act. So we have already had 2 sessions on the Companies Act. Today we are going to have the final session wherein we'll try to cover the examination question papers also. And whatever balance is left, memorandum and articles of association, everything will be taken care in today's class. Good morning, Divyansh, Anil, Niharika, Mas, Ansupa, and all those students who are here with us on the admin query pad as well. Good morning, Pavan Kumar, all of you. Good morning, Kavita, Palak, Gauri, those who have just joined, Amit. Good morning, children. So I hope you have revised the types of companies that we have done in the previous lecture, and also about the essential elements. Corporate veil theory is 100% clear to you. You remember the exemptions of the corporate veil theory. Today we are going and moving towards a new chapter, a new topic of Companies Act. Children, since June 2024, Companies Act, since the law has become for 100 marks. Earlier it was 60 marks for law and 40 marks you were having for your English paper. But since it is now full-fledged 100 marks for law, so major part of your paper will be from Contract Act and Companies Act. So you can say these are very important acts. Even the partnership, if you'll see the September 24 paper, 22 marks paper came from just from the partnership, and just from chapter number 3, that is registration only. So each and everything in law is very, very important. So the weightage of the chapters have increased because now we don't have any 40 marks paper for your English. So it is very important that you do each and every chapter thoroughly. All right. So we have already done features of the Companies Act. We have done the corporate veil theory. We have done the classes of companies. Good morning, Latha, and good morning, Abdul. Share capital and shares is something which we're going to discuss today, and the memorandum and articles. About the classes of companies, children, we have done all the types of companies: holding, subsidiary, Section 8 companies, OPC companies. Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take up certain examination question papers for all of you, so that you know how to write the answers also. So first we'll be doing this coverage. May 2019, question number 6, part C, 3 marks question came. All of you are expected to read this question and then tell me what is the answer of this question in the chat box. So I have humbly requested, sir, to open the chat box so that you all can reply back to me. But nobody is going to misbehave in the chat box. Everybody is going to answer just the questions. All right, children? So please read this question. Popular Products Limited is incorporated in India, having a share capital of 20 crore rupees. 100 each is your equity shares, and 8 lakh preference shares is your 12 lakh is your equity shares, and 8 lakh is your preference shares. Happy Product and Delight are holding 2 lakh and 3 lakh 50,000 respectively. Cheerful holds 2 lakh 50,000 shares. Jovilio is a holding company. Please read this and tell me what is the exact composition, what is the holding, and which company will be a holding company and which company will be considered as the subsidiary company. All of you have to do this question. Let me see the students over here also. Yes, everyone. Tell me which will be the holding and which will be the subsidiary company. So for making a holding company, you need to hold the composition of board of directors, that is appointment or removal of directors is being done by you. Or you are holding more than 50% of the share capital of the other company. So you have to see whether Happy Product, Jovial, who is holding Jovial Limited is as subsidiary of Popular, or what is it? Give me the answers. Yes, yes. Can we say Jovial is subsidiary company? When it is clearly writing that Jovial Limited is the holding company of all these companies, and if these companies are subsidiary of Popular, how can we say that Jovial is subsidiary? Jovial is always a holding company. If it controls the composition of board of directors, if it is controlling the composition, then it will become a holding company. It will not become a subsidiary company. Let us read the answers. So this is how you have to represent your answer. In the present case, the total share capital is 12 lakh plus 8 lakh, that is 20 lakhs. Delightful, happy and cheerful are holding this much respectively of all the three companies. So how much is Jovial Limited, a subsidiary, holds? 8,50,000 Popular Products, which amounts to more than 1/2 of the total share capital. So by virtue of its shareholding, it is the holding company, not the subsidiary. So if it is controlling the board of directors, it is not the holding company. So first case is that it is not. Why? Because it is not holding more than 8,50,000. So out of 20 lakh, at least 10 lakh shares should have been held. So since it is not holding more than 10 lakh shares, therefore it will not become the holding company. मतलब जो Jovial Limited is a subsidiary, that is just to give you a confusion. Subsidiary तो वो कभी है ही नहीं. By virtue of shareholding, आपने ये डिटेक्ट करना है कि वो holding company बन रही है या नहीं बन रही. And if you'll see by the virtue of shareholding, it is only holding 8,50,000 because Delight, Happy and Cheerful are together holding this much, and Jovial is also subsidiary holding 8,50,000. Okay, along with its subsidiary, Jovial is holding 8,50,000. So it is holding less than 10 lakh of the shares, 12 lakh plus 8 lakh, so 20 lakh shares. So 50% will be 10 lakh shares. So therefore, Jovial Limited does not become the holding company. But yes, second part says if it controls the composition of board of directors, then it will become the holding company and not the subsidiary company. If you're controlling the composition of board of directors, then you become the holding company. Only Ansupa has answered it. Good morning, Satyam Dubey. What about others? Others are not answering. You did not understand. Please ask me if you have not understood this question. Is it clear now, all of you? All right. Let's move to the second question. That is, an assessee has large income by the way of dividend and interest, and in order to reduce his tax liability, he has formed 4 private limited companies and transferred his investment in exchange of that. The income earned was taken by him as pretended loan. Can we say that A is a separate legal entity from the private company that he has formed? Analyze the question carefully and answer me, children. Good, Divyansh. So you can simply give me the answers in yes and no, children, because it is very difficult for you to frame the answers in the chat box. How to present it, that I will show you, but right now just give me yes or no. Very good, Bhavan, Niharika, Ankit. Good answers. No, ma'am. Lifting of corporate veil will be there. Dinshaw, Maniji, Pettit, K. Salmas. Very good. All right. So this is how you have to write your answer now. Now, how to represent your answer is something very, very important. All right. So first you will write that House of Lords in Salomon versus Salomon laid down that the person is distinct and separate from its members. Therefore, it has a separate legal existence from the company that they have formed. First, you will give the provisions of the Act. I always tell you that whenever you're talking about lifting of corporate veil, you always have to give the reference of Salomon versus Salomon and Company Limited, because that is the leading case law on the basis of which the decision of separation of members from its company was taken. So always, you don't have to write the case law, but you should give the reference of this case. Then Dinshaw, Manichi, Pettit, have already told you 3 case laws, Daimler, Dinshaw and Guilford Motor versus Horn. These are important case laws. You should remember the name of these case laws, because here all the history of the case is given in the question. You just have to write the name of the case. So you will say that in this case, it was held that the company which was formed was merely a sham. It is not having any business. They're not doing anything. They're just transferring the income and they're taking it back. So court decided that the private companies were a sham, and the veil was lifted to decide who is the real one. Again, in the instant case also, the private companies have been splitted just to split his income into 4 parts. No other business was done. Therefore, A cannot be regarded as separate from private company. Lifting of corporate veil will become applicable. All right, everyone is clear about this question. Any doubts anyone has, ma'am, how to write, how to present, kitna likhna hai, facts of the case, everything. I hope everything is now clear to all of you. We have another question. Okay, this OPC question I wanted to show you, November 2019 question paper, if you get to see. So now this is omitted from with effect from 1st April 2021. So you don't need to do the OPC conversion. One very interesting question came in the paper of Jan 2021, question number 1B. This is exact question given in your CA Inter book, the first chapter when you do about public and private company. So I expect all my students to understand this question and give me the answer. ABC Limited is registered as a public company. There are 245 members in this company. Directors and their relatives 190, employees 15, ex-employees who were allotted the shares. So if there's an employee who's allotted the shares and others are 20, including 10 joint holders holding shares jointly. Board of directors want to convert this company into a private company. Now, children, how many number of members are required in a private company? Can you tell me? Minimum 2 and maximum? How many number of members can be there in a private limited company? Everyone has to answer me back. 50. Oh my God. Anil is saying 50. Maximum 200. No need of conversion. Divyansh, Pavan, good. Infinity. Satyam Dubey. Public company has unlimited. Private company has maximum number of members 200. Ansupa wrong. Natasha right. Niharika right. Yes, Divyansh excluding employee. That's correct. But what is the maximum number? Maximum number is 200. Yes, good Kavita. So now we can have 200 members. Infinite is in unlimited is in case of public company. Maximum number of members in private company is children 200. So how will you calculate this 200? 190 directors will be considered. Do we need to count the employees and ex-employees? Yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am? Do we need to count the employees and ex-employees while counting the number of members in private limited company? Very good. No, ma'am, we don't need to count. So we will not be counting 15 members. The employees and ex-employees 20, they will be straight away excluded. And joint holders, 10 joint holders holding the shares jointly in the name of father and son. If the shares are being held jointly, then how many of them will be counted? It says there are 20 members, including 10 joint holders. So they will be counted as 10 or they will be counted as 20. The joint holders who are jointly holding, I told you if 2 or more people are jointly holding the shares, they will be treated as a single member. So how many members will be counted? 10 or 20? Very good. They will be counted as 10. So what will be the total limit? 190 plus 10. So total number of members will be 200. Okay. So total 200 members will be there. So that is how your calculation will be done. Since the number of members is 200, there is no need of conversion. There is no need of reducing the number of members. You can convert it into private company. There is no need of reduction. So you will simply write in the given case, ABC has 245 members. Private company has limited the number of members to 200. If 2 or more persons are holding shares jointly, they will be treated as one, and all the employees who are in present employment and former employment will be excluded. So since the facts of the case, ex-employees will not be included, 190 plus 10 will be your answer. Therefore, ABC can convert it, shall not be required to reduce the number of members, since it is within the limit of maximum 200 members. Everyone is clear on this question? It's a very important question. These kind of case studies, it is very important to practice these case studies, children. Just I have learned the definition of public and private company will not help me. And everything is there on the website, children. All the RTPs, MTP suggested answers, everything is there. ICAI has made so much effort for all of you. Please go through all these kind of things. All right. So what do you mean by companies with charitable purposes, Section 8 companies? What are the conditions for issuing the license and revocation? So you remember all this conditions. The license has to be issued to them. And how does it get revoked? If you contravene the provisions, whatever you have studied with me in my notes of Section 8 companies, as it is, you have to write to them. So if you do any kind of fraudulent thing or you're not following good practices, then your license gets revoked. And what happened on revocation? What order is passed by CG? Conditions for issuance, CG, you have to make an application to CG and they will give you the license. And the profits have to be used only for the purpose of promoting the objects, not for paying the dividend, remember? 15 days, 14 days clear notice instead of 21 days, no requirement of independent directors, remuneration directors, all those points you have to write. And on revocation, what is the order given by CG? Either amalgamate or use the word private limited or limited behind its name, or you can wind up the company. Very good, Abdul, Pavan, Divyansh, excellent answers given by all of you. So this is how you have to attempt your question paper. There is one more question. If you want, we can take it. Otherwise, we'll move ahead. You want to do one more question? Tell me, hurry up. ABC Limited has allotted equity shares with voting rights worth 15 crores. Shares are 15 crore rupees, 15 crore, and convertible, non-convertible debentures 40 crores. After that, the total paid up equity of the share capital is 100 crores and non-convertible debentures is 120 crores. Define the meaning of associate company and comment whether XYZ and ABC are associate companies or not. So ABC has allotted the shares. XYZ is holding 15 crores out of 100 crores of the shares, and debentures information is also given. So is it required to see the debentures information also for the associate company? Yes or no? Very good, Niharika. Excellent. No, ma'am. Debentures are not required to be seen. Ankit, Divyansh, all of you. So if I'm holding 15 crore out of 100 crores, so what will be my, whether I'm an associate company, yes or no? What is the minimum requirement for becoming the associate company? 20% of the shareholding. Since it is not holding 20%, it is not an associate company. Ankit, Almas, Abdul, correct answers given by all of you. And also it has asked you to define the meaning. So how you have to present the answer? It is a very simple question. You will simply write as per section 2 clause 6. If you remember section 2 clause 6, then write it. Otherwise, as per the provisions of Companies Act is also sufficient. Associate companies definition will be given. The meaning of significant influence you will write. Total capital includes paid up share capital and convertible preference share capital. Agar preference share capital likha hota debentures ki jagah, then you would have counted. But debentures are not counted. Debentures have no relevance in finding the significant influence. Since it is only holding 15% of the share, therefore it is not an associate company. Clear? All of you? All right, now let's see the topic of steps required for incorporation of the company. We have studied a lot about the companies. We have done certain questions also, examination questions paper we have done. You have answered me correctly. Now my students know also how to write the answers in the paper, which is very, very important part. So now we're going to discuss a new topic, that is incorporation of a company. Company banti kaise? Company incorporate kaise hoti hai? So on the first side, you can see the 7 headings that you have to see, that you have to learn, the documents that you need to file with the ROC. Who is ROC? Registrar of Companies. So every state has their own ROC. If it is in Delhi, Delhi will have their own ROC. Bombay has its own, Maharashtra's ROC. Chandigarh, Punjab will have its own ROC. So wherever your registered office is being opened, you have to go to that respective ROC of that state. First of all, what all needs to be filed with the ROC is memorandum and articles of association duly signed. So what is memorandum? What is article of association? In today's class, we will be understanding these are the major documents of the companies, which are the constitution of the company. So these documents needs to be signed and filed with the ROC. Yes, Gauri, you want to ask something?
Ma'am, ROC is only in a state level, ma'am?
Yes.
Not a district level?
No.
If we want to register one company, then we have to
go to that respective state ROC. I will show you the information from the study material also in a while. Okay?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. MOA and AOA shall be signed and they shall be filed with ROC. What are the declaration, registration requirements? The declaration will be taken from a chartered accountant, from all the directors, that whatever compliance is required, they have complied with it. Subscribers and first directors will give a declaration that they are not disqualified from being appointed. They have not been convicted. There is no problem. They can work and do the business. Address will be given for the correspondence. Particulars of every subscriber means their name, address, number of shares they are planning to take up in the company, all the details. And the person is mentioned in the articles also. Articles mein aap kisko mention karoge? Your first directors who are going to act as First directors will be appointed. All these people, details, names, address have to be given, and of the interest of the persons mentioned in the articles of association. After submitting these 7 documents, ROC will issue you the license. They will give you allotment of corporate identification number. Company is required to maintain these documents, and if you do any kind of fraud by giving a false information, say for example you're setting up a company in Delhi, but now you are giving details of the company which you are setting up in Bombay also, and it is a false information. You don't have any company over there. Your actual company is in Bombay, it is not in Delhi. So any kind of fraud you're doing, or you're including wrong financials, or you're including wrong declaration, this you have submitted the paper signed by CA, but that person is actually not a CA, it is a fake signature, then fraud will be liable to under section 447. Now, 447 is a very severe section. It is not part of your CA foundation syllabus, but only 2-3 places it is mentioned. So you can simply learn that fraud under section 447, the company will become liable. And whatever the order will be passed by the tribunal, that will be the final order. But now SPICE form has come up. There is an easy way of doing the business, simplified forma, and you simply have to electronically file this form, e-form, that is of SPICE e-form, for incorporating the company. And once this form has been filed, the company gets registered, then you become legal personality with perpetual existence. That means once you get this thappa of incorporation, your company is legally incorporated and it gets the status of separate legal entity and perpetual succession. Before moving to classification of capital, let's read all these points from the module also. I'm just opening up the study material for all of you. Yes, I hope it's visible to all of you now. These 2 type of companies I'll be taking up in a while. Dormant company, it is very important. We'll just do it in a while. But let's first complete this mode of registration and incorporation of the company. Promoter. Who is a promoter? Number 1, the definition of promoter. Promoter are the people who have decided, who have come up with the idea they want to open up a company. They are known as promoters. People who are forming the company. They have conceived the idea of forming the company. They have taken the necessary steps for the registration of the company. So if you and me tomorrow want to set up a company, we don't want to become the shareholders or the members immediately. We have decided to incorporate the company, means now we are just the people who have come up the idea of forming the company. So what do we call? What are we called? We are called promoters. And people who are acting with us as a banker, accountant, solicitors, chartered accountant, lawyer, they are not the promoters. They are only working in their professional capacity just to help us to set up a company. So Section 3 of the Companies Act deals with the basic requirements related to the constitution of the company. What is the constitution of the company? Company कितने लोगों से बनती है? So minimum 2 in case of private company and maximum 200, and minimum 7 in case of public company and unlimited number of members in case of public limited company. So Constitution Section 3 tells you that there are 7 or more persons in public company, there are 2 or more persons in private company, and in case of OPC, how many people you have, children? Can we have 100 people in OPC? How many maximum number of members you can have in OPC? 1, only 1. And 1 nominee is there, which is named in the papers, but only 1 person is running the OPC. Section 7 provides the procedure for the incorporation. First of all, filing of the documents have to be done. These are the 7 documents. Subscribers will sign it, the memorandums. People who are engaged in the formation of company, like a chartered accountant, cost accountant, will sign them. And a person who is named in the articles, all this declaration has to be given that all the matters have been properly complied. Then the declaration will be given from the first directors that they have not been convicted, means unko jail mein nahi dala gaya hai, they have not been guilty of fraud or any misfeasance, and all these documents with the ROC contain the correct and complete information. Address for correspondence means at what address my RO is established. There was an information about the registered office also there. See, this is the line which clearly tells you for registration of the company, the documents are required to be filed with the registrar within whose jurisdiction the registered office is proposed to be situated. So generally it is a state ROC, but it depends upon the jurisdiction. Jurisdiction means just jagha par your RO is getting opened, that place which is having the nearest ROC, you have to get it registered. All right, the particulars of every subscriber to the memorandums along with their proof and identity, particulars of the people mentioned in the articles as first directors and subscribers, and also the people entrusted. So you have to learn it as it is. Who are the people entrusted? The first directors and the people who have given the consent to act as directors in the company. In sabka naam, residential address, nationality, everything has to be disclosed in the form when you're filing the form for the incorporation of the company. Now, how the certificate will be issued? The registrar will check these documents. He will file all these documents and information, and then he will issue a certificate of incorporation. He will enter the name of the company in the that the company is now a registered company. Allotment of corporate identity number and SIN number is given. Corporate identity number will be given to the company, which is to be placed in all the documents and kept for the registered office also. Maintaining of all the copies have to be maintained in original format as it has been originally filed till the date of dissolution. The company is not going to dispose of its documents and information. So when you go to CA Enter, you'll be studying about the chapter accounts of companies and audit of companies. There we'll tell you for how long period the books of accounts needs to be maintained. It is generally 8 years time period, but all the documents needs to be maintained till the dissolution of the company. Furnishing of the incorrect information or suppressing of the material fact. Now, this is very, very important. One is I'm giving the incorrect information. Incorrect means wrong. One is I'm trying to suppress the material fact. Suppress means I'm trying to hide some material information from the company. Say, for example, I was supposed to disclose some important part. I did not disclose. Then I'm suppressing it. But if I'm giving a figure of 1 crore, which is actually in 10 crore in my books, then I'm giving incorrect information. Galat bol rahe ho, jhoot bol rahe ho. So anyways can happen if you have done anything false or incorrect, or you have suppressed any material information, like your director was convicted in jail, but you have suppressed, you have tried to hide that material fact. Then you will be liable for fraud under section 447. Company which is already incorporated by giving false or incorrect information, what will happen? That if it post incorporation, here you're coming to know at the time of incorporation, 447 will become applicable. Even if after post incorporation, means I have sent you the certificate of incorporation, now I came to know that this company is a fraud, it has been cheating people. Then also 447 will become applicable. All the promoters, directors, people named as first directors, person declaration who has given shall be liable for action under 447. An order of the tribunal will give a chance of hearing to all these peoples, and tribunal orders will be final. He can either make the liability of the members unlimited, he can directly remove the name of the members from the registrar of companies, he can pass an order for the winding up, or whatever order he thinks fit. So whatever will the tribunal's decision, that will be taken up as the final decision. And now we use SPICE E form, that is a simplified form. Now let's come and discuss the important points of effect of registration. Section 9 talks about the registration of the company. Now children, once the company has been incorporated, it becomes a registered company. And what will happen on registration? The company becomes a separate. Yes, Vedant Gupta, I really missed that pen because annotations used to be there, but now somehow they don't have this in Zoom link present. But even I like to scribble down and make the notes for all of you. But keep writing down whatever information I'm telling you. So registration of the company, once it is registered, it becomes a separate legal entity and it has the limited liability and perpetual succession. Now, section 9, children, all these important case laws reference has been given. All these 3-4 case laws like Harinagar Sugar Mills versus SS Jhunjhunwala, all these case laws are trying to tell you one important thing, that once the company is registered, Company is different from its shareholders. Shareholders cannot even have the joint interest in the property of the company. So let's read one of the case law. Harinagar Jhunjhunwala versus Jhunjhunwala says that from the date of incorporation, company becomes a legal person. So from what date the company becomes a legal person? The date when I filed the documents or the date which is mentioned in the certificate? Tell me, children. The date when I filed the document or the date which is mentioned in the certificate. From which date I become a legal person? Very good. The date which is mentioned in the date of certificate of incorporation. Good. So I become company from that date and it comes into existence and there is a binding contract between the company and members, and until the company is dissolved, it has a perpetual succession. So what is this case law telling you? Even if the members die, company has a perpetual succession. A shareholder who buys the share does not buy any interest in the property of the company, but in certain cases, a writ petition will be maintainable by a company or its shareholders. Now, what is the meaning of this line, writ petition? Whenever you go and appeal in the High Court, you have to file this writ petition. So maybe in this respective case, some issue has happened. So the shareholder said that although you don't have any interest in the property of the company, but if your money is not repaid or any problem is happening between the company and shareholders, then a writ petition case can be filed by a company or the shareholders. Legal personality comes from the date of registration and it becomes subscribers to the memorandum, and other people joining as members are regarded as the body corporate. It's a legal person to function. A company on registration gets a separate legal existence distinct from its members. So in the case of State Trading Corporation versus Commercial Taxation Officer, it was held that the company is separate, members are separate. A company can purchase the shares of another company and becoming a controlling company, that is your holding and subsidiary relationship. So because the company purchases all the shares of another company, it does not mean the other company is acting as its agent. So there is no agency relationship also. So this is a very important case law, Heavy Electric Union versus State of Bihar. Here, all the shares of the company, share capital of the company was held by central government and all the shares were held by President of India and other officers. But this does not make the subsidiary company the agent of either the president or central government. So even if the president of India is holding all the shares in the company, the other company will still have its own. Have completed section 7, section 9, registration. So I give you a small 5 minutes break. Just read these case laws, and if you have any doubts, you can raise your hands and you can ask me. Let's take a small break here. I'm taking a little break early today because my health is not very good today. So please read section 9 till then, and then I'm giving you time. All right, welcome back, students. So I hope you don't. Okay, Farheen Praveen has a doubt related to tribunal point. I will explain you. Vedant Gupta has written, I'm curious to know that a company secretary is a professional, but he doesn't necessarily have to be a professional secretary. They are the same person. So, okay, Ankit, I'll just give you a chance to speak. I'm just answering this question. A private company can't issue shares, so the subscribers during incorporation will only be the shareholders, right? Yes, that is absolutely correct, Vedant, because how does the person become a shareholder? Once you are the promoters, when you have come up with an idea to set up a company, and when you sign the memorandum and articles, you all are the subscribers. All right. Yes, Priyanka Yadav, you can still ask your questions. There is no problem. Muzammil Khan, all right. Okay. So after that, you sign the subscribers and then you become subscribers. And once the company is formed, once your name is entered in the register of members, you become members. Not just when the company is formed, there is a very important difference between a member and a shareholder. A member is a person whose name has been entered in the register of members. And if you simply take up a share in a company, then you become a shareholder. So that's correct. Private company will never issue the shares because they're not going out to the public. So it'll be the subscribers or the shareholders. All right. So next question Farheen has asked regarding the tribunal. I will answer that and then Ankit, your chance will come. So this is the point regarding tribunal, children. It says that if the tribunal finds that the company has been incorporated by giving any wrong information. Wrong information means your directors are Mr. A, B, and C, but you have given the name of D also. D, for example, D is Shah Rukh Khan, but Shah Rukh Khan is not actually your director of a company, but you have given the false information. Or suppressing the material facts means that there was an important information that Mr. A has been convicted. Convicted का मतलब होता है jail जाना. So he has been convicted for last 2-3 years, but you have hide that fact. You have not disclosed that fact. So all these declarations made by you are then a fraudulent kind of thing that you're doing. Then the tribunal will pass the orders. What orders he is going to pass is that the memorandum and articles are not which is in the interest of the company and in the interest of members. He will say that the liability of the members will now become unlimited. Although the liability of the company is limited, but now since the order has come, you have done a fraud, then the liability of the members will become unlimited, or he will directly remove the name of the company from the registrar of companies, or he will pass the order for the winding up of the company. Whatever order he thinks fit, he will pass those orders. But before taking all these decisions and passing the order, tribunal will give a reasonable opportunity of the company to come and be present, and opportunity of being heard will be given. And he will take into consideration all the transactions entered by the company during this. Now, what happened? Company was incorporated in June 2022. So either during June 2022, during the process of incorporation, the tribunal came to know about the fraudulent thing, 447 becomes applicable. Or it is post incorporation, that after June 2022, in July or August, we came to know that this is a fraud company. The company has cheated the registrar of companies. They have furnished wrong information. Then if the tribunal passes this order, either he'll make the liability unlimited, or he will wind up the company, or remove the name of the company. Whatever tribunal wants to do, he will do that. He will also take into consideration all these transactions entered. So from June to August 2022, whatever transactions the company has done, that will also be taken into consideration, so that the company is not debarred from payment of its liabilities. Whatever liabilities the company has incurred, वो तो उसे pay करनी ही पड़ेगी. That liabilities have to be paid by the company. All right, Farheen, I hope you have understood your point. Now we listen to Ankit. Yes, Ankit.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, beta.
Ma'am, regarding the registration of the company, former case we have said that the member who registered in the company, the subscribers, promoters maybe we said promoters. So he would not be convicted in former case. Any regarding to the company only or another criminal cases?
Okay, Ankit, first of all, there are 4 different case laws given. Which case law are you referring to?
Ma'am,
Harinagar wala?
yeah, ma'am, yes.
Okay, what is the point in this?
points they ma'am, then like when we forming a company, like we transferring our shares to the another company, which is like a dormant company, is not which is a sleeping company. So in that case, the who is transferring the profit of the former company to the next company who is formed is same case, same condition and same provisions applied there.
Okay, you have deviated yourself a little bit from the topic. Basically, this case is related to how you purchase the shares in the company. You do not buy the property of the company. जैसे मैंने Reliance में 2% shares दे दी. So now I'm 2% shareholder of the company, but I'm not owner of Ambani's house. I don't become the owner of the property of the company. All right. But if my dividend is not paid, if I'm having any problem, then writ petition can be filed by the company or shareholders. Means being a shareholder, I have a relationship with that company. So writ petition means a case which can be taken up in High Court. So if such kind of problems occur, then you can file a case against the company, but you don't become the owner of the property of the company. What you are talking about is a company buying the shares in another company. That is not part of our things.
Ma'am, another query is that we have recently studied the case heavy electric union versus state of Bihar case.
Yes.
उसमें we said that कि company is not the agent of the president of India or also not the government of India. And थोड़ा सा मैम बता दो इसको थोड़ा
You
सा.
want to understand this point? Okay, I will explain. So heavy electrical union versus state of Bihar case tells you that law recognized the company as separate and distinct from its members. Clear? Company is different, members are different. The fact means इस case में क्या हुआ था? Entire share capital was contributed by central government and all the shares were held by President of India and other officers of central government. So there is a company A Limited. Suppose there is a company A Limited जिसमें 100% of the share capital is held by central government. So central government क्या बन जाएगा उसका? Holding company, and A Limited will become the subsidiary company. Now, this will not make the difference in the position of the registered company. It will neither become the agent of the president or central government. Now, you will say A Limited में तो सारी share capital president of India या central government ने hold करी है. फिर तो ये उसका agent की तरह act कर रही है. Law says no. If you are a subsidiary company, if you're a company which is having its own existence, company has its own corporate legal existence, you will not act as an agent because we don't have agency relationship in company. Here, the stress has been laid on even if the government is holding 100% of the share capital, then also, even if you're a subsidiary company, you are an independent registered company. You're nobody's agent, even if your entire share capital is held by somebody else.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Clear? Okay. Any other doubts anyone has, you can ask, children. Vedant Gupta, in that respective case of British Transport Incorporation, again, it was held that if you try to make a company as your agent, then the corporate veil will be lifted. There is a difference between these 2 points. Here we are talking about individuality and legal structure that the company is having, a corporate existence that they have, that is different. You are not an agent of another person. And there we have talked about the point that even if you're acting, we are making a company to act as an agent, means company वही काम कर रही है जो मैं उसे direct कर रहा हूँ. I am the holding company. I have made a subsidiary company, just opened up a company to take up the shares, just trying to create a fraud in the eyes of law. Then my corporate veil will be lifted. All right, clear? Okay. Any doubts over here, the students? Muzammil Khan, Priyanka Yadav, all of you, Pavan Kumar, any doubts, children? All right, let's move ahead. Now we are going to talk about the classification of capital and dormant company ki bhi definition. Children, dekh lena. I hope you have studied that type of company also, because it is very, very simple company. The only point that I wanted to tell you over here is it is a company which has been opened up for a future project. It is not actually doing any business right now. It is an inactive company. And the important line over here is it has only, if you have only done these significant accounting transactions and you have not done anything else, then you are simply a dormant company. Significant accounting transactions means, what are these transactions? That means if you're just making the payment of the fees to the registrar, or you are fulfilling any requirements of the act, or you have just allotted the shares, you have paid the maintenance of office records, then you still remain a dormant company. Inactive or dormant company is the company which has not done any significant accounting transaction from the last 2 financial years. So examiner will give you a question. There is a company ABC Limited. They have only done these 4 transactions from the last 2 financial years. Will you make it a dormant company or not? Yes or no? If they have only done these 4 transactions from the last 4 years, from the last 2 years, and they have not filed their financial statements, and will it become a dormant company? Yes or no? Yes, ma'am, it will become a dormant company. Excellent answer, Divyansh, Pavan Kumar, all of you good. But generally, students think that these are the transactions. If you're doing, then you're not a dormant company. Then you are a dormant company if you're not doing anything apart from this. All right. Yes, Gaurav.
Ma'am, if the company fails to maintain the accounting transaction like these 4, it is called dormant company.
Yes. If it is not doing anything other than these means, sirf ye 4 kaam if it is doing, then it is a dormant company. It shall be doing some more business, not just these 4 transactions.
All ma'am or other one ma'am? All 4 ma'am or one ma'am? If fails to maintain.
Yes. Either of them.
Either. Thank you ma'am.
All right. Now let's move to the classes of capital of the company. There are different types of companies. There are different types of capital. You know, in accounts book, you have studied about the types of capital. What are the types of capital? Nominal capital, issued capital, subscribed capital, called up capital, and paid up capital. What is the meaning of nominal capital? Nominal is the authorized share capital, the maximum amount which the company has decided to raise when it starts its business. Let's assume the nominal capital is 1 crore rupees. Then what is the issued capital? Issued capital means when I come up with my initial public offer, IPO, this is the capital that I'm going to issue to the public. And let's see how much capital is subscribed by the public. So the issued capital is with which you come out to the public to issue it, and subscribed is how much capital is taken up by the public. And then called up capital, you must have done in accounts how much capital is called up. Uncalled capital ko minus kar denge, what is the call and arrears, and after that you calculate your actual paid up capital. So what is the real capital with which the company is doing the business? Is it the nominal, issued, subscribed, or called up, or paid up capital? What is the real capital with which the company is doing the business? It is the paid up capital. So anytime you want to invest in any company, so what capital you have to see? You have to see what is the real paid up capital of the company. That is the company which tells you about the business of the company. Now, there are 2 types of shares which my students have been studying since they have started the commerce, 11th, 12th types of shares. One is equity shares, one is preference shares. What is the meaning of preference shares? First tell me that. You know this thing. It is just a revision for all of you. You don't know equity share capital, I will tell you that. But what is the preference share capital? What is the meaning of preference shares? Why do you take preference shares in a company? What benefit do you get for the preference shares? Answer me, children. Hurry up. Chat box is all there for you. Use it. Answer it. They have different rights over capital and dividend. Good, Muzammil. What about others? They have the right. They are preferred first. They have fixed rate of dividend. Good. Pavan Kumar, Vedant Gupta. Good. They will be given the preference first before the payment to the equity. They're not the owners of the company. Okay, Divyansh. So preference share capital are the only one who are given the preference over the payment of the dividends and for the repayment of capital. Equity shareholders, yes, they do get the voting rights, but what is the preference over here? Preference is given to the dividend. Ansupa, Sapna Chaudhary, all of you are correct. So whenever the dividend are distributed, they're always given first to the preference shareholders, and whatever is left is given to the equity shareholders. Whenever the company goes into winding up, first the capital of the preference shareholders is repaid, and then the balance capital is repaid. So they get the preference over dividend as well as the repayment of capital. What is equity share capital? Equity share capital is of 2 types. One is with uniform voting rights. One is with differential voting rights. Now, this is very, very important. Uniform voting rights means same voting rights. Gauri, let me just complete this topic, then I will come back to you. Equity share capital with uniform voting right means same voting right. So if I have taken up 1 share in a company, I will get 1 voting right. If I have taken up 10 shares in the company, I get 10 voting rights. Is that clear? Same voting rights as per the number of shares that I have taken in the company. But what is the meaning of differential voting right? Tata Motors once came up with the equity shares with DVRs. DVRs means differential voting rights, where for 10 shares if you're holding, you will be given the 1 voting right, but the percentage of dividend will be more as compared to the other equity share. So what happens what DVRs were introduced when Tata Motors issued to its shareholders a type of a share in which they said that you will get in 2008 this happened, they introduced the equity shares with differential voting rights called A equity shares. So in its rights issue, what is the meaning of rights issue? When the shares are given to the existing shareholders, that is known as rights issue. So in every issue, it was held that the 10A equity shares will carry 1 voting right, but the dividend will be 5% more than those declared to the ordinary shareholders. Since A equity shareholders did not carry the similar voting rights, therefore they were traded at discount to other common shares. Hence, the company has issued popularly known as DVRs like Future Retail, Jain Irrigation, among others. These are the companies which have issued DVRs so. So DVR का मतलब क्या होता है? When you are issued the shares with different voting rights, if you hold 10 shares, you get 1 voting right. If you hold 30 shares, you get 3 voting rights. 20 shares, you get 2 voting rights. But your dividend voting right means the say in the meetings that you have. How much you can speak in your general meetings, what are your voting rights, how much you can take the decisions in the company. So that will be less, but 5% more dividend you are getting. More dividend will be given to you as compared to the ordinary shareholders. Is that clear, everyone? Equity and preference shares. Yes.
Ma'am, equity shareholders are the real owners of the company.
Yes.
And the preference shareholders are just like a guest.
Exactly, you can say that, but the preference is given to them for the dividend. They don't have voting rights, but yes, they are also the shareholders who are participating in the process of winding up. So when this act, when the company goes into winding up, they will have the right for the repayment of the capital first. Okay, so the preferential rights are given to the preference shareholders.
When company in loss, what about preference shareholders, ma'am? Whether we must be pay or not, ma'am? If it is
if the company is in loss, company is not having any dividend, nobody is getting any dividend. Why will they get it? Okay, so it depends. See, you cannot comment on how the company is just functioning just on the basis of a particular statement. There are many other things. We'll be studying about memorandum and articles of association in a while. So how your articles of association, what is written over there, that is also a part of your Companies Act. So articles can be amended from time to time. You can make a provision that, okay, preference shareholders have to get a dividend even if you get the losses. Then you'll follow that kind of provisions. But what you have to remember over here is only for 2 ways preference is given to them. That is either for the payment of dividend and for the repayment of capital.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. Okay. It says in case of private company, section 43 will not apply where memorandum and articles of the company of the private company so provide. So they have straight away given you the exceptions. Section 43 is this preference share capital and your equity share capital. It says they will not be applicable if your memorandum and equity articles are saying something else, then you have to follow that particular thing. All right. Now let's proceed to the very, very interesting topic of the day, that is Memorandum of Association. Memorandum and Articles of Association look very huge to all of you. कि पता नहीं क्या ही है इसमें इतने सारे case laws है, but it is actually the simplest part of the Companies Act. So let us study the memorandum. Memorandum is the charter of the company. It defines the constitution. It tells you what are the powers of the company, what kind of business the company is going to do. Now, object of registering a memorandum. It contains the objective for which the company is formed so that the shareholders, creditors who are dealing with me know that what is my purpose. Now, children, when a company, say for example, there is a company ABC Limited which has come into existence. You can keep writing it down. And the company is into sale of purchase of shoes. We are retailers, manufacturers. We buy the shoes from the manufacturers, wholesalers, and we sell it in the market. So a memorandum of association is clearly written that we are in the sale and purchase of shoes. Mr. Ankit comes to meet ABC Limited and Mr. Ankit says that I have nice different merchandise cloth and will your company like to purchase it? Since you are a company, you're doing business, why don't you purchase my cloth? Now, is it the object of the company to buy and sell cloth, or is it only buy and sell shoes? It is only buying and selling shoes. Is the company bound to buy this cloth? Is it within the object clause to buy this cloth? Law says no, it is not, because it is clearly written in the memorandum that we are in sale purchase of shoes. Then whose fault it is? It says it helps the shareholders, creditors who deal with the company to know. Then it will be Ankit's fault. That means he has not read my memorandum of association. He doesn't know that this company is into shoes only. Why he went to sell them cloth? Are you understanding? So memorandum of association में जो लिखा है वही आप करेंगे. Alright, so whatever is written in the memorandum, the company is only bound to do that kind of business. Memorandum is a public document under section 399. It says it's a public document. Every person entering the contract is presumed to have the knowledge of the condition. So Ankit, when he comes to enter into contract with ABC Limited, it is presumed, ये मान लिया जाएगा that he has the knowledge of memorandum. So tomorrow if company says that we are not going to pay you, Ankit, so who will be at loss, Ankit or ABC Limited? Who will be at loss? Shareholders must know the purpose for which the money is being used and the risk that he's taking. So Ankit will be at loss. Very good. Why? Because he has not read the memorandum and he has given the money to the company which the company is not going to use as per his requirement. Understood? So that is the relevant of memorandum. Company cannot depart from memorandum. It cannot enter into a contract which is beyond the power of company. नहीं कर सकती cloth का contract because company तो shoe business करती है. And अगर मैंने ऐसा contract कर भी लिया which is outside my object clause, then that contract is void. It ultra wires the company. Ultra wires the company means something which is not within the object clause of memorandum of association. Something which is not within the object clause of memorandum. So now these are the just table forms given how the memorandums are defined. Table A will tell the memorandum of company limited by shares. Table B will tell how the MOA of company limited by guarantee not having share capital to be made, and then company limited by guarantee having share capital to be made. And for unlimited company, table D is defining it, the memorandums, and table E defines the memorandums to be used for unlimited company having a share capital. So first limited by shares, limited by guarantee not having, limited by guarantee having share capital, unlimited company, and then unlimited company having a share capital. What are the contents of the memorandum? Memorandum में क्या-क्या चीजें आती हैं? Number one, name clause. So you will tell what is the name of my company. You will use the words limited if you're a public company, and you will use the words private limited if you're a private company. What will you use for OPC? For OPC, we will use the words OPC behind its name. This clause is not applicable to Section 8 companies. Why it is not applicable, children? Because I told you Section 8 companies are not required to use the word limited or private limited after its name. Alright, then all these names including Foundation, FORCHAM, Chambers Association, all these require CBDT's approval. It has been held that the approval is required if you are registering your companies under Section 8. According to the Electoral Trust notified by CBDT, Section 8 companies, the name shall include these chambers, federation, association. They shall not use the word limited and private limited. And for OPC, the words OPC will be written behind its names. Government company must end with the word limited. Okay, government company will end with the word limited. The state in which the registered office, what is the registered office clause? It is simply telling you कौन सी state में मेरा registered office situated है. दिल्ली में है तो दिल्ली का नाम लिख दो, महाराष्ट्र बॉम्बे में है तो महाराष्ट्र का नाम लिख दो. ठीक है, whichever state your registered office is situated. Third is very interesting, object clause of memorandum, Ashbury Railway Carriage versus Rich, जो case हम आज करने वाले हैं, that is purely based upon this object clause of memorandum. Children, object clause of memorandum is very, very important. Whatever is written in the memorandum's objective, the company can only do that kind of business. If the company has changed its activities, it shall change its name within 6 months from the change of the activities. If we have decided to close my shoe business and start my cloth business, then I have to intimate the registrar, and within 6 months, such changes shall happen. What is the liability clause? Liability clause simply tells you about the company limited by shares, that the liability will be on the amount unpaid on the shares. And in case of guarantee company, the amount will be the persons have contributed towards the assets of the company or towards the expenses of winding, whatever amount they have given for the guarantee. Where is the liability of unlimited liability mentioned, children? Liability clause is mentioning over here company limited by shares and company limited by guarantee in the memorandum of association. Where is the unlimited liability mentioned? Where do we mention the unlimited liability? Tell me. Absolutely correct. Unlimited liability is mentioned in the articles of association. Good. Amount of authorized share capital. Capital clause will tell you how much is the authorized share capital. That is the maximum amount which the company has decided to raise. And association clause tells you about the subscribers to the memorandum who will be taking up at least one share in the company. In case of OPC, you have to include the name of nominee. So you can write down over here, this is the nominee clause which has been recently introduced because OPC has now come up only. So OPC में आपको nominee clause भी बताना है memorandum में कि अगर आप नहीं हो तो कल को आपकी दुकान कौन चलाएगा, who will be the nominee in your place. Memorandum shall be divided into different paragraphs and signed by at least 7 persons in case of public company and 2 in case of private company and 1 in case of OPC. And also it will have one witness. A company being a legal person can through its agent subscribe to the member, but minor cannot be a signatory and cannot. Guardian of the minor subscribes on his behalf shall deem to have subscribed in his personal capacity. So can a minor become a member in a company? It says minor cannot be signatory to a member, but the guardian of minor can sign on his behalf. The above clauses are compulsory clauses or conditions which are important to form the part of memorandum of association of any company. Now let's understand. Yes, Gauri.
Ma'am, while writing the content of memorandum, must we follow the serial wise, ma'am? First name clause
Yes.
and next object clause.
Depending upon the type of company in which you're following. That is the model that has been given.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Doctrine of ultra wires. What is the meaning of ultra wires? Ultra wires means beyond your powers. If you're doing something which is beyond the power of the object clause of memorandum, then it is said to be ultra wires. Any act done by the company which travel beyond its powers, not only of the directors but whole of the companies, is wholly void and is not binding on the company. Means company को जिम्मेवार नहीं ठहराया जाएगा. अगर आप कोई भी ultra wise act करते हो, then the outsider is liable, not the company. Say, for example, if you have supplied the goods, performed services, or lent money, you cannot obtain or recover the money lent. But if the money advanced has not been expended, अगर आपने use नहीं करी है, then the lender may stop the company from parting with it by means of an injunction because the company does not become the owner of the money. All right? As the lender remains the owner, he can take back his property. If the ultra wise has been utilized in meeting lawful debts, then he steps into the shoes of a debtor and consequently he will be entitled to recover his amount. If somebody has wrongfully entered into a transaction, it says memorandum is a public document. Anyone who's dealing with a company is bound to have read the memorandum, then only he enters into contract. But where any expenditure has still not been done, he can claim his money back. All right. Yes, any doubts here? As if corporate body is incapable of doing a certain act. Yes, that's correct. Vedant Gupta, it is always acting through its human agency. Now, this is a very, very interesting case law. Ashbury Railway Carriage and Iron Company Limited versus Rich. So, I would request all of you to read this case law. What were the objects of the company? To make the railway wagons, to carry on the business of mechanical engineers, to lease and sell on work mines, to purchase and sell as merchants and agents. What happened in this case law was there was a company, Ashbury Railway Carriage and Iron Limited company was there, and Rich was a person who came to this company and he said that I wanted you to finance my railway construction line in Belgium. Now he wants to enter into a contract for financing of the construction line. Do you think that the company is into any kind of finance business? Company is always making the railway wagons, डब्बे बनाती है railway के carriages, and mechanical engineers and contractors वाला काम करती है. So Richie said that this act is within your power because you have written the word general contractors. So that means you have the knowledge about you can finance my railway line. So what was held in this respective case was that the word general contractors should be read as a whole. There is a first word written mechanical engineer जो भी बना रहे हैं वो काम कर रहे हैं, and general contractors means उसी से related हम contract की बात कर रहे हैं. The company was never into providing any kind of finance business. So since then the company repudiated the contract. The company said we will not do this work although we have done a contract with you, but this is ultra wires. Their shareholders cannot ratify the act of directors. Even such an act cannot be ratified by passing a special resolution. So the term general contractor will be associated with the mechanical engineers, and this is the company's main business. For example, marine and fire insurance होते हैं, वो अपना business कर रहे हैं, तो उसी तरह से आप authorize करते हो जिस तरह का आपने business करना है. So ultra wires can never be binding on the company. It cannot become intra wires because of reason of estoppel or lapse of time. So therefore, the whole position of ultra wires is that once the company is doing any business, it shall be within the object clause of memorandum. If you're doing anything outside the object clause, then it has to be ratified. If the act cannot be ratified, even with the unanimous consent, then that act becomes void and ultra wires, and action will be taken against the company as well as against the people who are entering, not against the company, the people who are entering the contract will be held liable in this case. All right. Everyone is clear about the ultra wires, doctrine of ultra wires. Any doubt, children? Ashbury Railway. Yes, the word general contractor was so ambiguous, Pavan Kumar. That is why this case has come into picture. So later on, shareholders said that can we ratify this act? So this act cannot even be ratified. Once it is outside the preview of the company's object clause, it cannot be ratified even later on. It prevents the company from changing its activity. You cannot ask the company to change its activity just because somebody has entered into a contract with you. Is that clear, children? So I give you 5 minutes break over here. Read this case law ultra wires very carefully. Whatever I have told you, just read it, try to understand, grab the information, and then we will wind up the chapter by completing the articles of association. Let's take a small break here. Right. Welcome back, students. So I hope you have read the respective case law and there is no doubt in it. Abdul has raised a query. I'm going to answer it. Okay. Yes, Gauri. Abdul has raised a query. He has said that what if the finance amount was transferred to Richie by Ashbury and later on he fails to pay the liabilities? In this case, so once the contract is ultra wires, like I explained you with a simple example, I'm into shoe business, you have supplied me clothes. So now my directors later on said that you have although accepted this contract, but they tried to the shareholders can ratify this and now can we include this thing in the object clause that please let us allow. So they said that you cannot alter the object clause like this just for ratifying the act. If later on you have any alteration, then this contract can become valid. But since this contract is completely void, the same was the case with Ashbury versus Railway Carriage versus Rich. So the contract was completely void. Therefore, he cannot recover any money also. Okay. As they mentioned, it is General Vedant Gupta is asking. The decision taken is a bit confusing because they mentioned the word general contractor. So, Vedant Gupta, this is the exact confusion. Yes, Pavan Kumar, you're also right. There is ambiguity in the word general contractors. That's why this case law came up. So Richie also thought that you have written general contractors means you can do any kind of insurance contracts or like this. They said then to everybody will become a general contractor if you have fire insurance, marine insurance, and general contractor means they're related to that insurance work. But if you're doing mechanical engineering and general contractors means it is related to that mechanical engineering work. Children, when you go in your further studies in your CA intermediate and CA final, we have topics for you in law, that is interpretation of statutes as well as the general clauses. There in detail, you understand how we actually have to interpret the law. लॉ को पढ़ना कैसे है एंड और इज ये जो वर्ड्स लिखे हैं लॉ में इनका एग्जैक्ट मीनिंग क्या बनता है तो applying those principles also, those doctrines and principles of exceptional construction, you have to understand the law in detail according to that also. So in lieu of that, if you say mechanical engineers and general contractors, so it is the engineering kind of work. Also there, if you read the other objectives, it is written making of the railway wagons and, other kind of things. So it is related to that business. It has nothing to do with financing line. All right. Yes, Gauri.
Ma'am, if the company acts beyond the powers, is there any penalties or simply it is void, ma'am?
It is ultra wires. There's no penalty mentioned over here. It is ultra wires. The contract becomes void. Company is not liable for any penalty. It is outsiders' fault. They will have to bear it.
It is outsiders' I can't understanding, ma'am.
Yes, outsiders liability means अगर आपने पैसा दिया भी है उस काम के लिए जो मैं नहीं करती हूँ तो आपका नुकसान हो. Not my fault. मतलब me as a company.
हिंदी समझता नहीं मैं.
All right, so it is not company's fault. It is the outsider's fault. Means if even if you have given me money, you will have to bear the loss, not the company.
Here, company is not acting behind the powers, but outsiders acting, ma'am.
Yes, outsiders will be acting.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, clear, Gauri?
Then, ma'am, if the object clause rectified by the shareholders, then it is a void company, ma'am.
Yes, then, but it is not allowed to be ratified. You cannot ratify the act. See, it is to understand the meaning of void. You have done Indian Contract Act. What is the meaning of void? What do you understand by the word void?
Void means it is illegal, ma'am.
No, it is not illegal. Void does not mean illegal. Void means that it cannot be performed. It is not valid in the eyes of law. Okay, that means it has no meaning in the eyes of law. Then it cannot be ratified by the even unanimous consent of shareholders. Even if all the shareholders say, no, Rich is a very nice person, let's ratify this act, let's approve it. No, you cannot ratify. Once the act is ultra-wise, you cannot ratify. All right?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Yes, unenforceable, Divyansh Bhatti, absolutely correct. So now let's move to the case law of articles of association. Articles are basically the rules and regulations which are framed for the internal management. So like memorandum is your fundamental layout, how the company has to be formed. Articles tells you about the internal rules and regulations. Articles are in fact the bylaws of the company according to which directors and other officers are required to function. So section 5 gives you certain contents and model of the article. Simply you can read this, children. It only talks about that the articles contain rules and regulations, other matters, matters of entrenchment. What is the meaning of entrenchment? Entrenchment means a very strict provision can also be made in the articles. Say for example, when you pass the special resolution, then 75% of the shareholders' approval is required. But in your articles of association, you can also say that when 90% of the shareholders will agree, then only this condition will be met. So that is the entrenchment. You can make the provision for entrenchment, means you can include strict provisions to protect something. Entrenchment means to protect something. So you can write down in your simple language that you can include strict provisions also in the articles. This can be included if all the members have agreed, and registrar has to be sent the notice of this kind of restriction. After that, differences are given between memorandum and articles. It is very, very simple. You can just give it a reading. Let's move to the most important topic, that is doctrine of indoor management. For understanding doctrine of indoor management, you need to understand what is doctrine of constructive notice. So in doctrine of ultra vires, I told you that if company has entered into a contract with an outsider, outsider will be held liable if the act is ultra vires. If a company has entered into a contract with outsider, it is the responsibility of the outsider to read the memorandum and articles of association which are available for inspection. If he has not read, then doctrine of constructive notice will follow. Again, who will be held liable? The outsider will be held liable. So doctrine of constructive notice means that the person should read the documents or not. We assume that you have read this. So Mr. Rich was assumed to have read the documents, even if he has not read. Section 399 is a very important section in Companies Act, which tells you that these are the documents of constructive notice. Once memorandum and articles have been published, it becomes public documents. Everybody who is dealing with the company should read these documents because they're registered with the registrar. You can pay a nominal fees and you can read these documents. Any person who entered the contract beyond the authorities, beyond the powers of the company, it will be ultra vires and cannot acquire any rights. So you can simply write down in your own language, in doctrine of ultra vires, outsider is held liable. In doctrine of ultra vires, outsider is held liable. In doctrine of constructive notice, again outsider is held liable. So both the doctrines, outsiders is held liable. He will be considered as at a fault, not the company. Now, doctrine of indoor management is the exception to the doctrine of constructive notice. Law says something which you are doing inside the doors of the management. How can public come and see that? Something which you are doing within the company, public can see whatever documents, memorandum and articles you have published on the MCA website or with the registrar. Outsiders can see that, but they can never see what changes you are making in the company. If you are making any internal rules and regulations and you have not told this to the outsiders, then it is the company's internal affair. If doctrine of indoor management is applied, then who will be held liable? Then company will be held liable. If doctrine of indoor management is applied, who will be held liable? Company will be held liable. So quickly answer me in the chat box. If doctrine of ultra vires has happened, who will be held liable? Jaldi jaldi you have to write, children. We have to do this important case law also. Outsiders. In case of doctrine of ultra vires, who is held liable? Samiksha is asking a question. Okay, Samiksha Prajapat, I have just read your question. I will answer you in a while. Yes, Muzammil Khan, that's absolutely correct. About the intrawires, Muzammil Khan, you're asking what is the meaning of intrawires? Intrawires means which is within the powers. Ultrawires beyond the powers. Intrawires, so if it is even if it is within the articles, but it is outside the memorandum, then also it will be held liable. Okay, everybody has answered the correct. And if it is the doctrine of indoor management, then who will be held liable? Niharika, Sapna, Almaz, Divyan, Shankit, Abdul, all of you are answering it correct. Vidyan, Pavan Kumar, good. In case of doctrine of indoor management, members will be held liable. Body corporate will be held liable. Company will be held liable. Very good, very good, very good. So now let us understand a very important case, which is also known as Turquoise rule. But somebody has written a query. Just allow me to answer that. I have a question related, ma'am, in which ratio of the members of unlimited company where the loss incurred, as you know, the members of the unlimited company. Samiksha Prajapat, unlimited company will have the same principle as we apply to the partnership firm. So if the assets of the company are not sufficient to pay the liability, then you have to bring your personal assets from the home to pay off the liability of the company. There will not be any respective ratio. It depends upon the functioning of the company. Okay. Yes, Kavita, thanks for writing it out. That is absolutely correct. But since I don't have that pen over here in Zoom, otherwise I would have written this thing for you. All right. So facts of the case of Royal British Bank versus Turquoise. So Turquoise is also known as Turquoise rule. So Turquoise was the official manager, a liquidator of the company, that is Camerson Coal Rock Steam Coal Company. So there was a railway company. They went into liquidation and they have appointed a liquidator, Mr. Turquoise. The company was formed in 1844 Act. It had given a bond of £2,000 to the Royal British Bank secured against its assets. So a bond is a kind of a borrowing. They have borrowed money from the Royal British Bank against the security of these assets. So when I go and borrow money from the bank, so bank will say, I'm giving you a loan. What are you giving me in exchange? So I will say, take my gold in exchange as a security. Tomorrow, if I fail to pay back the loan to the bank is going to sell my gold in the market and recover his money. So similarly, the company went to Royal British Bank and they have taken up a loan of £2,000 from the Royal British Bank, and it was secured against the company's assets, means they have given security of the company's assets. The bond was under the company's seal. Who is supposed to sign the seal? Two directors and a company secretary. When a case was taken against the company, it was held that directors only had the power to borrow the authorized amount by a company resolution, and a resolution was passed but not specifying how much amount the directors could borrow. Now listen very, very carefully. Turquoise was the liquidator of this company. When he came to do the winding up process, he sold off the assets and he was paying the liabilities of the company. While he was paying the liability, there was a liability, a loan of £2,000 that was to be repaid to the Royal British Bank. Turquoise said that this loan we cannot borrow. It is a doctrine of constructive notice. You should have read Royal British Bank. You should have read that only the directors can borrow up to the specified amount. So bank said, we were aware that the directors can borrow for the authorization of the resolutions passed. But we are not supposed to know whether you have passed those resolutions or not. It says articles registered. So we will have a constructive notice. Constructive notice means that the resolution needs to be passed and the directors can borrow. But now how your company is functioning, whether you are passing all the resolutions, whether you are doing your business correctly or not, we are not supposed to come inside your company and ask you, listen, company, have you passed the resolution? We are going to, we are giving lending money to you. So here the bank could not deem to know whether the resolutions are passed because they are not registered. You don't go and register. You register MOA and AOA, but you don't register the resolution. Therefore, the bond was held valid because he was not supposed to look into the company's internal workings. That is the role of company's indoor management, that whatever is happening inside the doors of the companies, that is company's problem, not the outsiders. So who will be held liable when the doctrine of indoor management is applicable? Outsiders or company? Everyone in the chat box. Who will be held liable when doctrine of indoor management is applied? Who will be held liable? Hurry up, all of you. Only Ankit has answered. Others sleeping. Almaz, Divyansh, good. Company will be held liable and its members, good. Good. All of you have answered it correctly. Now you have understood. I hope no doubts till indoor management, because now we are moving towards the last topic. After completing, I will give you the chance to speak, children. You can put your hands down. After we have completed the syllabus, then I will give you 10 minutes we can have for the doubts, okay? Exceptions to the doctrine of indoor management. Now, since you have understood Turkwan rule, many a time examiner is going to give you this question. It is favorite question of the examiner. On the basis of Turkwan rule, then you have to write this brief summary that I have told you. That company's internal working is company's problem, outsiders are not liable. So indoor rule is important for the people who are dealing with the company through directors and other persons. It is assumed that everything is being performed perfectly fine and they are within the scope. As long as this act is valid and under the articles, if anything is done in a particular manner, outsider is dealing to presume that it is done as per the manner. Means if I am entering into contract with you, I'm an outsider, you are the company, I will assume that company is doing everything perfectly fine as far as it is within the object clause and it is within the power of the company. But Turkwan rule has its own limitations. Now people started misusing this kind of rule. The directors and respective members said, okay, we can do anything, company will be held liable. So exceptions to the indoor management says that you will notice that the rule of indoor management is important to the person dealing through directors and other persons. So if any director or other person, say for example, a company secretary, he put up a fake signatures. In that case, that company secretary will be held liable. There is a director of the company who knew that his borrowing power is less, but still he misused his power to borrow the loan from the company. Then that director will be held liable. There is an accountant of the company who is selling the company through using power of attorney. Can an accountant sell the property of the company? He is only here to maintain the accounts. He is not supposed to sell the company. So if such kind of suspicions, irregularities are coming up, then those respective people will be held liable. So the first point is constructive knowledge of irregularity. This rule will not be applicable where people dealing with the company has notice of the irregularity. If you are aware about the irregularity, if you already have the knowledge of any irregularity, then that respective person will be held liable and not the outsider. Now, what happened in this case was where directors could not defend the issue of debentures because they have known that the extent to which they are lending the money require the assent of the general meeting, which they had not obtained. So directors knew that this approval was required and they have not taken the approval. Still, they are issuing the debentures. So any such kind of thing that you are doing will be held liable. The directors, that respective directors will be held liable and not the shareholder, not the entire company. All right. The second is suspicion of irregularity. Those who behave negligent. If you're behaving in a negligible manner, then you will be held liable, not the whole company. Turkwan rule is not applicable to the suspicious activities. Say, for example, Anand Bihari Lal versus Dinshaw and Company. This is a very interesting case. Plaintiff accepted a transfer of company's property from an accountant. The plaintiff could not have supposed that the power of attorney accountant had no authority to sell. Then it is outsider's fault. Now, why are you taking the property? Why are you purchasing company's property from the accountant? He has no authority to sell the company's property. Similarly, director is doing a fraud over here. Similarly, the outsider has fallen into a trap because of the accountant. Accountant can be held liable, but not the company. And forgery is the very most important case, which you will see in n number of question papers. They will give you a case that there was a company secretary. He had fixed the seal of the company and forged the signatures. Forged means fake signatures. Doctrine of indoor management does not apply to forgery. If you have done any forged or fake signatures, then that respective company secretary will be held liable. You have to learn the name of this case law, Rubin versus Great Bengal Consolidated. Plaintiff was the transferee of a share certificate under the seal of the defendant companies. So person has been transferred the share certificate. Transfer होता है जो share certificate transfer करता है. Transferee is the person to whom the share certificate has been transferred, and the transferor has signed it under the seal of the company. So the company secretary has fixed the seal and forged the signature of two directors. He has given his own seal, he has given its signatures, but fake signatures of two directors was given. So the signature was genuine or forged was part of the internal management. Therefore, company cannot stop from denying the genuineness. It was held the rule is never covered to cover the complete forgery. It is the case of forgery. Therefore, that respective company secretary will be held liable and not the whole company. All right, now this is a beautiful summary given by the institute. You should read the summary after you have done the chapter nicely, and all these descriptive questions you should do, children. The document that regulates the internal affairs of the company is memorandum, prospectus, article, certificate of incorporation. Hurry up, answer me second question. Those who are not cheating will answer it immediately. Very good. Articles of association. So Vedant, Sapna, Palak, Abdul, all of you correct. Others are, I think, finding the answer. Significant influence. How much interest? 2%, 2.5, 10%, or 20%? Yes, you can raise your hands now. After this MCQ, I'm going to ask your questions. All those who have the doubts can raise their hands. Meanwhile, I'm just taking a small test. 20% is the correct answer. Good. Private company, which is a subsidiary of public company, will be treated as public company, private company, holding company, dormant company. Very good. It will be deemed to be a public company. Which of the following is not content of memorandum? Name clause, office clause, object, board of directors. Board of directors. D is the correct answer. Very good, Palak, Divyan, Sapna, Ankit, all of you. Good. Only a natural person who was an Indian citizen and stayed in India for how many days? 180, 181, 120, 183 for becoming, opening up an OPC. How many days? 120 days. Excellent, children. Excellent. XYZ is having 15% share capital held by X Limited and 50% held by central government and 10% held by state government and 25% other. Is it a government company, private, public, or dormant company? So it will be a government company because 51% of the share capital has to be seen. So 50% by central, 10% by states, 60% government stake is over there. And now all these important questions, you must read them and write them in your notebooks. First, learn the chapter, revise the chapter, try doing writing of these questions, and then try to tally with the answers. Answers are very beautifully described in the study material itself. But first, do your homework, children, and then try to see the answers. So this is my last class with you. I wish you all the very best. You are good students. You have been very interactive. And yes, Vedant Gupta, no problem. Even if you have any doubts, you can raise your hands. And my humble request to all of you, please do written practice of Indian Partnership as well as Companies Act, whatever we have done with you, both the units that I've completed with you. Writing practice is very important because children, during exams, we feel that we know everything, but we fail to get marks if we have not written the paper correctly. Yes, Divyansh.
मैम वो सेकंड वाला नहीं समझा, एमसीक्यू वाला.
Doubt of suspicion?
हाँ.
Okay. So simply understand from the example, if there is an accountant, Anand Bihari Lal versus Dinshaw and Company, what happened in this case law was there was an accountant. Accountant
मैम नॉट केस लॉ, नॉट केस लॉ. वो एमसीक्यू अभी जो एमसीक्यू चल रहे थे टेक्स्ट बुक के.
Okay, beta, which one you did not understand?
Second वाला.
one. What was that? डॉक्यूमेंट दैट रेगुलेट्स द मैनेजमेंट ऑफ इंटरनल अफेयर्स का हिंदी में मतलब है कि कौन सा डॉक्यूमेंट कंपनी के इंटरनल अफेयर्स के बारे में बताता है. मेमोरेंडम तो ऑब्जेक्ट क्लॉज के बारे में बताता है जो बाहर वाला है. आर्टिकल्स इंटरनल अफेयर्स के बारे में बताता है. प्रोस्पेक्टस तो आपने पढ़ा ही नहीं है अभी, आपको पता ही नहीं है प्रोस्पेक्टस क्या है. एंड सर्टिफिकेट ऑफ इनकॉर्पोरेशन वो होता है जो कंपनी को इनकॉर्पोरेट होने पे सर्टिफिकेट दिया जाता है कि कंपनी अब कंपनी बन गई है, सेपरेटली करें. सो क्या होगा उसका आंसर? इंटरनल अफेयर्स का articles of association.
Okay, ma'am.
Understood, Divyansh? All the best. Yes, Gauri.
Ma'am, your way of teaching is very excellent, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Gauri.
Then, ma'am, I am not getting the exceptions to the doctrine of indoor management, ma'am.
Okay, what have you not understood? Have you understood the doctrine of indoor management?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so for the exceptions, number one thing, I will explain you broadly, but the learning part has to be done. The language at times seems little technical, but if you have the conceptual clarity, you can write it in your own language. So once again, I'm quickly going through the exceptions to the doctrine of indoor management. Anyone else also has a doubt can pay attention. So doctrine of indoor management simply tells you that company will be held liable and not the outsiders. This much is clear. But exceptions tells you that you cannot put the whole blame on the company. Sometimes this rule does not protect the person when the person dealing with the company has the notice of it. Means I am a director of the company. I know my borrowing powers is up till 2,000 pounds. I still borrowed 5,000 pounds. Then who is at fault? I am at fault. You cannot blame the company, although the company is at fault. Outsider ki galti nahi hai. But here that respective director will be held liable. Similar is the case of suspicion of irregularity. This point tells you that if you have a suspicion means doubt. If you have any doubt in any contract, you must raise an inquiry. Like an accountant is having the power of attorney in his hand. If you will refer to good Hindi movies, they do these things in kind of movies. They try to show you that I'm going to sell the property of the company in my name. You cannot be the owner of the property. Company is its own owner. How can you have the accountant has the power to transfer the company's property? So there is a doubt. There is a suspicion in this. Such kind of transactions, if you are doing, then respective accountant as well as the outsider will be held liable, not the company. And the third important case is forgery, which simply tries to tell you that if any company secretary is giving the fake signatures, will you hold the company liable or company secretary? Tell me, Gaurav. Whom will you hold liable?
Company secretary.
Yes, this is the only exception. So company secretary was held liable, not the whole company in that respective case. So these three exceptions tell you that that particular person will be responsible, not the whole company.
Okay, ma'am. Sometimes individuals also liable,
Yes.
ma'am, instead of
Yes.
company.
Yes, this is what the exceptions tell.
I got, ma'am. No.
All right, good. Okay, also ma'am, secretary of the company and company secretary. Oh, it's the same thing, Vedant Gupta. That's one and the same thing. Thank you so much, Abdul, for such a lovely message. I'm glad to read this, that you enjoy my law teaching. And yes, definitely, I look forward to meet you in the intermediary. You all will pass with good numbers, children. Don't worry. But the only thing is that you have to remember is stay focused, keep revising, keep making down your notes. That is very, very important. Okay. Yes, Vedant Gupta, voting rights is the rights which are given to you for when you have a say in the meeting. All right, for whatever rights are given to you. So voting rights is a huge part of your CA intermediary. Don't have to worry right now. Thank you, Ankur Narayan Singh. Thank you, Niharika. Okay. I can't see any more doubts. I can only see beautiful thank you messages. Thank you so much, students. I hope you have enjoyed the sessions with me. And it was really a blessing to teach all of you. Thank you, Natasha. Sir, एक second. Gauri, yes, you want to ask something?
No, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Thank you so much. Anyone still has any doubts because we're going to end the meeting? All right. Thank you so much, students. And please revise and study whatever we have done. Do your writing practice also. Sure, Ankit. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Yes, sir.
ma'am. You.
Welcome, beta. Welcome. Thank you. God bless you all. All the best for your exams. All right. Yes, sir. We are done. Thank you, sir.
Recording stop.